Mhm. I am so excited today to have someone I love, I hang out with, I cherish, I admire on the show, and she's just everything and every everything and everybody. I mean, she's just all in one. Caroline Phillips, and Caroline, I want to welcome you to the show. You've been here before, and I want to welcome you back.
Well, Linda, thank you so much for having me. It's always so much fun to talk to you. And I'm very excited to catch up with you today and hear everything that you've been working on and give you a little insight into what I have coming up.
Oh, so you're turning the wheels here. I want to talk about
Exactly. I was like,
what you've
maybe
been
I'll
doing.
ask some questions.
Well, to my listening audience, Caroline is the founder of the National Cannabis Festival, which started about 7 or 8 years ago.
Eight
And it
years
is the
ago.
largest cannabis festival, definitely on the East Coast, and I would dare say in the United States. And I'm just really, really proud. And Caroline, you have all of these degrees and credentials and everything, and you got your bachelor's degree from Wake Forest University. Then you got your postgraduate studies at Howard, HU, and then your master's from Georgetown University, and it's a native Washingtonian. Um, this is heartwarming for me because I love seeing women in business and women doing creative and innovative things, and especially Black women and women from Washington, D.C., our beloved city. So, as a native Washingtonian, tell me, what did your family think when you told them that you were going to start and produce one of the largest cannabis festivals in the country? I mean, actually, when you came up with the idea of doing it, what was their reaction?
Well, there were two very different conversations. With my dad, it took me 3 months to convince him that I wasn't kidding, that I really was leaving my job and going to start this festival. I think at the time he couldn't really picture what it was or what it is. What do you mean you're starting a festival? And he really didn't understand how the cannabis industry was growing. But
Mhm.
now, 8 years later, I think he has a better idea of why I did this. But it took him a while to understand and believe me. Now, my mom is a different question. She is a Catholic school teacher,
Aha.
and I can't say we've ever had a really direct conversation about the festival.
But she must be proud.
I think she is proud. It's
Mothers
just
are
kind of,
always proud of our children, no
I'm
matter
sure
what
she's
path
very
they take.
proud. It's just something we've never really talked about directly. She just
Yeah.
calls it my work, and I'm like, I'm doing my work.
I like that go around, get around.
Yeah, my work.
But it's, oh, okay. I was wondering how long it was going to say. But Caroline, I can't see your face.
Can
But
you
do
see me now?
we have to start over anything? Okay, cool. Okay. Now I can see you. There
Oh,
was a
okay.
notification on our screen.
Oh, okay.
Okay. But since the very first one, um, it has evolved into a major, major event every year. People are clamoring to get tickets. They're clamoring to get vending booths. They're clamoring to see all the major entertainment you bring in. You bring in some incredible entertainment. But what were some of the challenges that you went through? Let's compare from the first year to last year's. What are some of the obstacles in, doing something this big in this city?
I think the obstacle in the first year was having no name recognition. So not only was I doing what small business owners do, which is
Mhm.
try to raise capital, but I was doing it on an unproven concept. In year 8, at least people know what the concept is. I can point to photos and videos and testimonials from business owners or ticket holders to explain, like, this is what I'm trying to fund. So while I still face all of the same challenges, as people in cannabis, as women in business, as people of color in cannabis and business face trying to raise capital, it is easier a little bit now to at least be able to point to examples of what I am doing and why I'm doing it. Beyond funding, there are just a multitude of other challenges that you face when you're putting on not just a festival, but a cannabis festival. So, with
Yeah.
all live events, you worry about all kinds of things. But something that has been a challenge, but also to a certain degree a joy, has been seeing how the festival has changed and thinking about how it will change as we see our community growing and changing alongside policy.
That is so true. And I remember the first one, and you were trying to get some elected leaders on the local and national levels to attend, and they were very hesitant. And now it seems like, everybody wants to be on that stage.
Well, I'd love to think that it is really fun, especially in election season, seeing folks who are campaigning realizing that the cannabis community has a vote and coming to speak on our stage. I love seeing our local DC council members and representatives from the mayor's office pop up on the stage. It just reminds people that in Washington, DC, cannabis is not just an economic issue, but it's also a voting rights issue and it's a statehood issue.
And it's growing. It's growing.
Exactly.
We will get
Exactly.
legalization someday. But you also face other complexities that people that put on festivals around the country don't, because of the interconnection of the DC government and the federal government, the DC land and the federal land. And
Oh,
it's
yeah,
a
I can't say that I know many other cannabis event producers that have to put their plans, in front of task forces that include things like the Department of Homeland Security. So that's certainly unique.
I think I was amazed because where it's held, RFK Stadium, um, that land is really legally owned by the federal government, correct?
But
And
it's
DC
leased back
leases.
by the city, so it's the jurisdiction of the city.
Mhm. Okay.
But
Okay.
yes, that is a good point.
As so many things that we have here, but that had to be a difficult sell when you first started, to even talk about bringing people to our city that love cannabis and want to know about cannabis and learn about cannabis and perhaps consume it.
It was a difficult sell, I think, at first, just because of the stereotypes that a lot of us in the cannabis industry still have to fight back against. But then we had the steering committee of amazing local small business owners. You're a member of our founding steering committee.
Yes, I
We
am.
had different restaurant owners and bar owners who all agreed that it would be great to see an event like this come to Washington, D.C. They put their weight behind the idea. And I think that gave folks some faith that this could be done in a way that was thoughtful and educational and enriching to our community.
And it has worked. It has certainly worked. It just, I think last year was what, 25,000 people, 35.
Last year, we were looking at about 25,000 people. As you know, we had a weather event that day.
Mm-hmm.
Not exactly my favorite topic, but everybody was safe. The show
Yes.
went on as soon as it was safe to do so. But yeah, we were slated to have our biggest year yet. But I do think 2024 is going to be even bigger because we're going to be on 420 weekend for 2 days.
Yes. I
So
love it.
hopefully, bigger crowd and more people visiting our great city.
And, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this interview now, so people can start looking into it and making plans and getting involved. Also, a lot of people think, I remember when I told someone I was on the steering committee when you first started, and I've been on it each year. I'm never going to leave you. You're going to have to kick me out.
We would never do that.
But, people started thinking about Woodstock. And I said, no, it's not going to be compared to Woodstock. This is a totally different thing. Woodstock was my generation. This is a totally different thing. And you do a lot of educational programming at the festival. You do a lot of advocacy for social justice and all of that at the festival. And then you bring in local vendors to, the food trucks, um, the local and national entertainment. And it's just such a beautiful day. And every year that I've been there, I've never seen one incident, not one, with all these tens of thousands of people. So for the listening audience, walk them through what a normal day attending the festival is like.
So attending the National Cannabis Festival is a whole lot. There's so much to do in one day. We have 6 education pavilions that run concurrent conference style sessions all day. So you can learn about wellness. So cannabis is plant medicine. You can learn from dispensary owners. You can visit our growers world and learn all about home cultivation. You can visit the psychedelics pavilion and hear from doctors and scientists on the latest in psychedelic medicine. We have a policy pavilion that houses all of our drug policy organizations who will walk you and talk you through all of the legislation that's happening from federal to state law. We also have our culinary pavilion where you can see demos and hear from local and national chefs talking about how they use cannabis in food. Then let's see, we also have, I know I'm missing one.
Well,
Wow, I'm going to be in trouble with someone, Linda.
You can come back to it. Welcome to that particular group of us.
Exactly.
Yes.
Well, no, so that's just our education programming. As you know, you've been to the festival. We also
Yes.
have lounges for special interest groups. We have our LGBTQ lounge. We have our veterans lounge. Veterans in Washington, D.C. can get free tickets to the festival. We'll be announcing that program next week. We also have our Golden Buds lounge for our cannabis enthusiasts of a certain age to gather and network. It's really an exciting day, but I think really what makes the day so special is all of the advocacy organizations that we have on site. There are more than 30 drug policy groups that exhibit on site, providing information, connecting cannabis enthusiasts with cannabis business owners, and really helping our community feel like they have a place in the policy discussion around cannabis in our country. So that's something that I hope the festival has brought people over the years. And it's something that I hope we can continue to make more tangible for people so that when they go to the polls, they really understand who they're voting for and what that means as far as the policies that impact their lives.
And then you expanded to the National Cannabis Policy Summit.
And
And I
speaking of
thought that was
policy,
brilliant, huh?
yeah, no, so I was saying, speaking of policy, in year 3, we expanded to the National Cannabis Policy Summit. So this will be its 5th year. And we started that event because we wanted to make sure that we had a forum where all lawmakers felt comfortable coming and talking about cannabis, whichever side of the aisle you're on, whatever state you represent. I noticed in the first 3 years that we were mostly getting liberal leaning lawmakers coming to the actual festival grounds. So we thought, let's take this into a conference setting. Let's make it a big free event, fill the room with activists, with lobbyists, with community members, and get lawmakers on the stage in a setting that perhaps is a bit more familiar to really dig into these topics. So going into the 5th year of the summit, we're actually the only nationally televised cannabis conference. You can catch us on C-SPAN every year and sometimes even on some of the big news online networks.
That is amazing. I remember being at the first one. And it was so wonderful to see lawmakers come out to have discussions on cannabis. Because when you started that, everybody was, pretty much hiding from conversation, particularly elected officials, even though we had a cannabis council. And I think our own Congresswoman Eleanor Holmes Norton is a co-chair of that. So to bring in, to take the cannabis policy to the lawmakers is very important. They get to interact with those of us that are actually implementing the business side. And so now, what is 420 Month? This is a new one you sprung on me.
Well, so as the festival has grown, we've realized that people really love traveling to our city for this event. And we wanted to give people a reason to come in earlier and really spend time in our community. So we launched 420 Week, is what it's going to be this year and going
Okay.
forward, a couple of years ago as a way to take the cannabis conversation to unlikely places. Now, you've participated in some of these events before. We were at Bus Boys and Poets in Anacostia a couple of years ago. We've been at Loyalty Bookstore. We were at District Winery. So we've really been all over the city. It's a chance to have unique, perhaps unexpected cannabis events. Now, the events aren't necessarily consumption events, but they're places where you can talk about cannabis and be with our community. So I think my favorite of the 420 Week events that we've ever done was called Tannins and Terpenes, where we talked about the relationship between wine and cannabis, and there was some wine tasting and chocolate tasting and cheese tasting involved. So folks can expect to see more things like that this year. And also our second year for 420 Food Week, which is my personal favorite thing.
Mhm.
Now, if you're into food, you can go to restaurants all over DC, Maryland, and Virginia in April 2024 and the week leading up to the festival, so starting April 15th, and get special meal deals made for the cannabis lover. Maybe they're salty, maybe they're sweet. The food won't have cannabis in it, but you certainly can when you go to eat.
I love it. I truly, truly love it. And I think that, that we're getting to a point, and perhaps with the new licensing opportunities, that there will be, safe consumption places that may be able to incorporate some food and some edibles. Cannabis is not a bad thing; it's a very good thing, and it's a very healing plant.
I agree. I'm so excited to see the social use lounge licenses start to become a reality in our city. I don't know how soon those spaces will start opening up, but how exciting to think that, creatives in our city will have a chance to decorate spaces or perform in spaces or sit down for a meal in spaces where it's also okay to consume cannabis.
I totally agree. I totally agree. If you can do it with alcohol, why not cannabis?
I agree completely.
You can walk anywhere into any restaurant, any club, anywhere, and, get whatever your alcoholic choice is, um, available. So one of the things I'm really excited about is the public perception of cannabis now. And at my dispensary, I see a lot of older people coming in for cannabis. So it's really changed. It's really changed a lot. And I also, Caroline, you are one of the most prominent advocates um, in the country for cannabis. You belong to a lot of trade organizations and cannabis associations and that type of thing. But I know your heart is with Supernova.
It is.
So
Well,
talk about Supernova because a lot of people, if you're not in the cannabis space, you may not know about Supernova and its works.
so Supernova Women is a nonprofit organization that started in Oakland, California about 8 years ago. It was started by a group of Black and Brown women who wanted to own and operate their own cannabis businesses, but realizing the landscape at the time wasn't going to give them a fair shot. They banded together and got to work trying to create an environment where they could actually be stakeholders and be business owners. So many years later now, many of the original founders are owners and stakeholders in the cannabis industry. And Supernova Women recently decided to start spreading our wings to the East Coast,
That's
where hopefully we'll
fantastic.
be able to. I know, I'm very excited
Yeah,
about it.
yeah.
Myself and Kebra Smith Bolden up in Connecticut are the two East Coast board members. But we're hoping to bring the work of Supernova Women to the East Coast and use what we learned in Oakland on helping creating environments for licensing and opportunity in communities on the East Coast. One of the things that Supernova has done that I think has been really impactful is create the first ever social equity impact report. And for folks listening, one of the big conversations in the cannabis industry right now is how can we make sure that cannabis licenses are distributed fairly? So
Yes.
not just to the people with the most money or the most power, but also to people in communities that were impacted by the war on drugs, also to a diverse community of business owners, not just, the same groups of folks always owning all of the businesses. So really trying to make this into a different industry. And this impact report was put together and it shows legislators and also local government officials how much money a municipality can make when they run a social equity impact program or run a social equity program properly. So the idea is if a place like Washington, D.C., for example, invests in a great social equity program that gives lots of different people opportunities to enter the cannabis market,
Mhm.
the city will eventually benefit from that investment. And our report showed that to be true. So that's something that I've been really proud of that we worked on with Supernova. And it's something that we're definitely talking about as we bring our work to the East Coast so that we can create more opportunities and more access for more people.
That's excellent. That is truly excellent. And have you been in discussions with the government about it? That's okay. It's my little niece.
A little fussy today.
That's okay. So have you had any, I was asking if you had any discussions with DC government about it, about some type of relationship with Supernova and the community impact statement.
So we've sent out the report to a bunch of offices, DC
Mm.
government offices, a small business office, the Office of Economic Development. So hopefully they've seen and are aware of the report. I'm
Mhm.
hoping that we'll have an opportunity to present the report soon, but that may be on us to do some outreach and really let council members know that we have some important information to share.
I totally agree. The timing is now.
Right.
Since DC has opened up the licensing process, especially for social equity applicants. And so I commend you on that. And if anybody wants to get a copy of that, could they get it off the Supernova website?
Yes, they should visit supernovawomen.org and you'll
Okay,
find it right there on the homepage of the website. Again, that is supernovawomen.org.
that is fantastic. I applaud you all because I know the hard work that you do. And this is an important piece of information so that we can perhaps level the playing field in cannabis because it's totally uneven.
It's
And
very uneven and it's really made it really difficult for people to create sustainable business models.
that's very true. And I think one of my fears is that, and we all pretty much know that the liquor businesses are going to enter the cannabis industry as well as, like the Amazons and the pharmaceuticals. Some state, I forgot what state it is now, that is allowing pharmacies to distribute
Oh,
cannabis.
in Georgia, of all
Georgia.
places.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's just wild to think about before they've even had a chance to really create a market down there that it's going straight into pharmacies, which creates a bar for entry or a bar for access for so many people.
That's right. That's right. So keep up the good work and keep going. So what do you see? What is in your future for NCF and for Caroline Phillips? What all is next? This seems like a biography. It seems like a Netflix. It's,
You
seriously, you've
know,
done a heck of a lot of work in a short period of time, and you need to be proud of everything that you've done. You've taken
well,
it from
thank you.
nothing to something major in just a few years.
I'm excited to see how the festival evolves as things in our city evolve. I know that each year the festival has changed a little bit as we've seen policies and trends in our community shift. And I think that is definitely going to be true in the next couple of years. I'm excited to see, how that impacts the different educational programs, how that enhances the different kind of exhibits that people can see. So it will be an interesting ride, and I hope a lot of people come on it with us. For myself, I really hope in the next couple of years that I can position my company so that we're able to fund the ideas of people like me. And maybe it won't take 8 years for them to get to where I've gotten. I would love to be able to accept proposals from creative, visionary people in our city and say, hey, this is a great idea. We'd love to help fund and push your ideas forward.
And it for
So I think that would just be so rewarding, and to keep a lot of that talent really growing here at home would be an incredible thing too.
one of the things I want to point out is that the festival is an economic engine for DC. Because people drive from all over the country, particularly up and down the East Coast, for the festival. And it's amazing when you're arriving and you see license tags from everywhere. And on the grounds, you meet people from all over. This is a must attend event, particularly if you have any interest in cannabis whatsoever. But if you want to get with people like you to enjoy an outdoor day full of so many different options and to just go in the night. And one of the other things I want to compliment you on is the support of the community. We're surrounding the National Cannabis Festival. People sit on their porches and enjoy the music all day and everything. So it's, you've done, just a terrific job. And has the demolition of the stadium grounds hindered anything attendance wise or anything like that?
Not attendance wise. I think it has given us an opportunity to really step up to the challenge of working with the community, just to make sure that, they're not driven nuts by some extra traffic because of street closures, or maybe attendees getting lost in the neighborhood because the direct route to the metro is not as obvious
Mm-hmm.
as it used to be. But that's on us. We're going to make sure that we have more signage up and more people lining the route to keep people headed in the right directions. And we're going to keep showing up to our ANC meetings and stakeholder meetings so we know how the community feels. But yeah, thank you so much for that, Linda. I live in the neighborhood around RFK too, so I
Mm-hmm.
know how important it is to make sure that we're listening to the people who are impacted by our big events.
Well, Caroline, we want everybody to be out there this year from everywhere, every part of the earth. So if people are interested in finding out or following National Cannabis Festival and your entire week, month of 420 and anything that you all are doing, how can they find out?
They should visit nationalcannabisfestival.com, and we'll be having pre-sale tickets going on sale at the end of the month at the lowest price that you can get your tickets to
Ooh,
the festival for.
good knowledge there.
Yeah, be on the lookout for that, but check out nationalcannabisfestival.com. You can also find us on Instagram and Facebook.
That is wonderful. It is an absolute honor to have you on my show today. And I'm going to invite you back. And, we're going to keep updating the festival and all the activities around it. But thank you so much. I love you with all my heart, and I'm so enormously proud.
Thank you so much, Linda. I appreciate your support since day one, and I can't wait to celebrate with you in April.
Absolutely. And before.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Caroline. God
Thank you.
bless.
Bye.